Welcome back to the channel, and today's video is going to be about how to start dating again and what to think about, like what to do to get ready before you start dating to make sure you've ticked all of these off. And just as a bit of a backstory, dating used to trigger my deepest childhood wounds. I used to get anxious, avoidant, and everything in between. And a lot of the times, externally, I would have it locked down and I would keep it cool because in my head I knew the right things to do, but internally, subconsciously, I was having a lot of battles internally that were causing me to people please, overgive, like devote too much time to people, lose myself, not turn up as my genuine self. And I don't mean that as in I turned up as a complete different person, but I become somebody that was more interested in winning those people, that person over, than assessing whether they're the right people for me long term. Really like sitting back and say, okay, well, are we going to work long term? And a lot of that just comes down to doing the work and really understanding yourself. So let's go through some of these notes that I wrote. So the first one is, and I did this from quite a lot of talk therapy, and that's I sort of badmouth talk therapy on this channel a bit, but talk therapy is great at making you understand your childhood and why you are the way you are. So I can pinpoint, say, me catching my mum cheating on my dad when I was 12. From that moment, I become somebody that seeked a lot of external validation. And you got to think somebody that's craving that external validation, when they get it or find someone that could give them it long term, then you end up like people pleasing them. You end up like giving them too much too soon and not really assessing the whole situation because they're filling you up. They're making you feel great. And anytime you've got an external source of validation to fill you up and to make you feel complete, it's a great sign. Well, it's not a great sign. It's a good sign that you've got some sort of childhood trauma, and it's just not sustainable. It's going to lead to a very uneven balance in a relationship. So like, understanding yourself and knowing your patterns. So understanding yourself is the first piece, and then digging deeper into that and saying, okay, well, I'm someone that needs this external validation, and what I then tend to do is I tend to over provide for them. I tend to make it about winning them over rather than assessing whether we're good to be in a relationship together over a long period. And as I'm saying it, that obviously leads to a high probability of us not working or working in a relationship but not being very happy. So the next point is to date from identity, not from loneliness. And it sort of follows on to the last one. If you understand yourself, you understand your traits, the negative side, which we just discussed, then you need to get into what your actual needs are. And it will tend to be your needs are the opposite to what you got in your childhood. So, for instance, my mum and dad loved me dearly, but they wasn't very emotionally available. So, guess what? My biggest thing that I'm seeking is somebody that's gonna be able to communicate with me, be emotionally mature enough to make me feel wanted. Like, I want to have conversations where, I know them deeply and they know me deeply. Also, somebody that's confident enough to show me affection. Now, I'm not saying completely flip this round and make me the woman in the relationship and get the woman to show me all the attention all the time, but just there are some women out there that don't feel that comfortable being able to express like physically their emotion to their partner. And it is very, very common. I hear this a lot from my friends and I've seen it firsthand. So you've really got to understand your own needs because think about it. If you don't know your own needs, you're going to go into a relationship and expect somebody else to meet your needs. Come on. And that honestly, I'm only saying that because that was me for my whole life. I did not know my own needs, and then I would get a year, 2 years, 3 years into a relationship and be like, this person's not making me feel good. Yeah, no. Of course they're not, because you don't even know your own needs. How the hell are they supposed to know your needs? The next part is lead with boundaries and not walls. So, yeah, you don't want these great big walls where it's impossible to get over, but you do want to set out boundaries. And the thing is with healing, once you know your old traits, for me it might be that I can't be with someone at the start where I text them all day, every day, and I'm calling them all the time, all the rest of it, because that leads me to feeling too connected to them when actually, physically, face to face, we're not that connected. So that's actually a bit of a boundary of mine, and I will set that out. Sometimes you don't even need to say these things. I've not said this to anyone, but I will physically not text people back. I'll see their message come through sometimes. Say I'm at work, I'll see their message come through. I might even read it, but not like open it. And I'll just leave it. And I'll text them back after I finish my work, or after I finish playing with my daughter, after I finish doing my shopping trip, whatever it is. And that just gives us that bit of space. And I've said this loads. That's actually quite attractive to a female as well, because you're busy, you're owning your stuff, you're working. These are all like masculine traits. So don't ever feel bad about that. Sometimes you might have to say, sorry, I've been working, been busy. I opened your message, but I didn't have time to get back to you. Or even to send them a quick message saying, quite busy at the minute, I'm going to get back to you when I can. Cool. Like, we think these are bad things to say, but they're actually really masculine, attractive traits. So just make sure you're leading with your boundaries. Understand where your needs are, because your mind, your subconscious will still, like for instance mine, naturally I still do want to text people quite a lot, but I know that's not good for me. So I'm even have to like set boundaries for myself, but I do them with the other person as well. I haven't set a defined boundary about texting, but I'll give it that bit of time. I'll give it that bit of leeway. I won't be texting all day every day. There's just no need to, in my opinion. You do get those people that you really, really connect with, but I would always question if somebody is so available to text you all day, every day, after you've met them for a very, very short time, they're probably looking for you to fill a void in their life, and vice versa. If you're willing to text them all day, every day, you're looking for that person to fill a bit of a void in your life, unfortunately. And I'm only saying that from a place of I've been there. The next one, point four, is choose based on alignment, not chemistry alone. Now, we can feel sometimes that, we meet people and it's like, wow, this person's it. They're crazy. I'm into this girl. And I've had this recently. I've had this in the last 6 months. And there's part of it that our brain, when you've been in a life where you wasn't sure about, say, your parents' emotions. Let's use me for an example. So, like I said, my parents loved me dearly, but they wasn't like very available emotionally. And I don't want to say that's chaos, but think about that as a child's perspective. It's like you don't know whether you're coming or going. You don't quite know whether they do love you or not. You don't really feel like you're that bonded to them. Then you meet this person, and they might be very attractive. They might be very flirty. You might even get a few dates in, and you've ended up being intimate with them, and it's been crazy. You're really, really into them, but then at certain times they're pulling back. They're not giving you they're not being very emotionally available, but the physical side, and when you're with them, you feel the connection. It's that chaos. So when you're with them, you're feeling this connection. When you're not with them, you feel quite disconnected. But that chaos to you feels like home. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, I'm not looking for that anymore. I want to be, I don't want it to be crazy when I'm with them. Although, I mean, I'm not saying you don't, you probably do. Ideally, you want it to be crazy when you're with them and still feel very secure when you're not as well. If at any period, any one of those two scenarios, you're feeling a certain way, like you're feeling there's elements missing, then you need to start questioning that. And like I say, I've had that where I've been in person and the connection is crazy, undeniable. I know there's a great connection there, but when we're apart, I could tell that she was, I don't necessarily say having second thoughts, but she was questioning whether she was ready to be in a relationship. And that's a valid thing to question, but you got to ask yourself, are you going to wait around for somebody to decide whether they want to be in a relationship? And if I was you, my advice is no. You get with people who are ready for a relationship. Doesn't mean they're ready for a relationship with you, but you get with people that are ready for a relationship. So, number 5 is communicate early and be honest. Now, communication is the number one thing you should be looking for. In my personal opinion, I think it's the absolute foundation for every relationship. And also, like, the emotional maturity. Now, this is from past experience as well. Somebody could sit down with you and they could tell you all of their past trauma, and you think they're so emotionally available, they're so emotionally intelligent. But when it comes to the here and now, actually talking about how you two are or little conflicts within you two, they can't do that. So don't get fooled. Honestly, I've been in that exact scenario, um, where the person was very good at talking about their old trauma, but in the moment, they couldn't express their own feelings. So just be very, very careful of that. Some of this as well is like it's really hard to give a hard and fast rule because some people need a bit of time, and you do need to play the time game, give them a bit of time to come out the shell, build up some trust. But if you're still sort of like 3 months down the line and they're not able to do that, then you need to really start questioning things and think, well, actually, is this going to work for me? Because, like I say, for me personally, being emotionally mature, being free to express feelings to one another is really, really important to me because I was lacking that in my childhood. So that's one of my number one things. The next one is green flags to look for. So actions, not just words. People can talk a good game. And I'd probably say us lads are better at this than the women. From my experience, we talk a good game, but then, we might not always show up. So I would say just let some time pass and let the actions speak. And actions do speak louder than words. They really do. We can all talk a good game. And even myself, like I'd say I'm very emotionally intelligent, but I'm not necessarily always the most emotionally intimate. I'm out of practice for that. I mean, I've been out of practice for that my whole life, and I can talk a great game, in theory, but actually, like, get into the deep, dark depths of relationship. I mean, I wouldn't be dating if I was great at it, would I? So, you know, you've got to let your actions speak louder. Let their actions speak louder than their words at some point, and just make sure what they're saying aligns. Sometimes they might say something that you think, oh, yeah, that's sounding a bit dodgy, or that sounded like that's not going to work for me long term. Just keep it in the back of your mind. You don't have to bring it up or anything, but if you start getting various similar instances, then by all means bring it to the table. But just keep some of this stuff in the back of your mind. I'll just be sort of a bit of healthy paranoia when it comes to some of these things. So the point 7 is peace and the relationship. So let trust build over time. Like, you cannot rush this thing. You really can't rush it, because if you do, you're going to feel very connected, or you're going to be very invested. Let's say like you have a whirlwind romance with this person a month in. You're like, wow, these are incredible. Like, we're being very intimate. That's great. We're just having the best time, having laughs and jokes, and we're going to all these things, and we've got loads of shared interest, and it's great. Let's make this official. Let's be official. And then you might get another month down the line, but I'm just loving spending time with you. I'm always at your house. Why not just move in? Now, 2 months in, you're living with that person. It might be 3 months, and quite frankly, you're both showing up as the best version of yourself. You need to let some time pass and make sure that you can be there for each other. So a good test is when they need you to reassure them over something. Let's say they've had a relative die or something, and you show up and you see how they act in these situations, and you reassure them, and you can even have a conversation about it after, saying, "Did I show up in the right way? Is there anything else I could have done better?" Or you've had an argument, or you probably want to do both, to be honest, but obviously you can't always make people die. So, do you know what I mean? Though you need to get a good balance of it. You need to make sure that you're going to be able to have disagreements and get through them, and you also need to know that you're going to be able to be there for each other emotionally. Point 8 is be willing to walk away, and I think at the start when I spoke about when you date, I don't know if I said this actually. I might have said this in the video I just recorded. But at the start, when you go on your first date, you want to be sitting there assessing them as much as they're assessing you. And I used to be so bad at this. I used to get on a date, and if the first hour we was amazing or the first date was amazing, by the second day it was all about me winning them over. It was all about me proving to them how good I could be, so they chose me. And I was doing this subconsciously, but it isn't about that. For the first couple of months, it's going to be about, are me and you okay? Are me and you actually going to work long term? Whilst you're getting to know them, obviously you don't want to make this the first thing in your mind. You want to be getting to know them, just chatting, letting it free flow. But ultimately, you're assessing each other at this point of, is this going to work out long term? Are we actually compatible long term? Because if you're in your 30s like I am, I'm 38, I can't really afford another relationship to fail 3 or 4 years down the line. I actually want to have I want to have a family, potentially have children. I can't get 4 years down the line. I'm going to be 42. Then I've got to get another couple of years down the line with someone else. If I meet them straight away, I'm going to be 44, 45. I probably won't have any swimmers left by then. So, we need to be thinking about this thing as much from our perspective as we are from, as much from the perspective as, are they nice people, as the perspective as, okay, we need to show up and be the best version of ourselves at the start. Um, so yeah, that's about it really. But I just encourage you all just to do the work, and really get to the bottom of your traits and your needs in a relationship. Because understanding them is the biggest part. Even if you don't do a lot of the inner child stuff and all the rest of it, but you learn to be able to soothe yourself when you are triggered, then you're going to be so much more aware. Like I've said in other videos, actually, when I first started dating again or first started talking to other females, I felt like I was more anxious than I used to be. But that wasn't because I was more anxious. That's because I was more present in my feelings. And when the anxiety came up, it was great because I felt it come up and it was there for I don't know, 10 to 30 minutes, and I soothed myself and it went. Whereas before, I didn't even know I was getting anxious. I would just be panicking. I might text them twice, or it might. To be honest with you, I don't ever double text. It might be a case that I wouldn't double text them, but I'd be checking my phone all the time. And then when they did text back, I would maybe fire a message straight back to them, and it wouldn't quite be like what I wanted to say. Like you just want to be sat back as a much calmer person. And if they do not ever text you back again, so be it. You don't need them. They're brand new in your life. You're getting to know them. This isn't about finding the love of your life and identifying them in the first date or the first few days of messaging. So yeah, just go at it knowing your own traits, knowing your own needs. Don't rush it. Don't rush it. And just be present in your thoughts and feelings. You're good people. If you're having all these thoughts and feelings and doing this work, it's because you are emotional, which is good, and you get into the bottom of it, you're able to self-soothe. And like I say, females actually find this sort of stuff really attractive as long as you can manage it. If you're emotionally mature but you don't know how to soothe yourself and you need a partner to soothe you, then that's not going to go down very well. That's when you're going to become more of the feminine, which isn't going to be good. But yeah, I've rambled on for long enough. If you've made it this far, well done you. The school groups down below, Brotherhood of Death, free community. I want us all to get together, talk about this sort of stuff. Also, if you've seen anything in any of the previous videos about my meditations, breath work, journal prompts, mother and father wound stuff, it's all going to be in there. It's all going to be in the school community. So head over to there. It's all free. Just sign up. Please do take part though. Like I say, I want to create some sort of community where men get together and talk about emotional stuff, because we can all go down the pub and talk about bums and boobs and all the rest of it, but we need to talk about the emotional stuff as well. So yeah, please do like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.